Peter.
I hear it in the air. I feel it in the air. Who's your neighbor? Who's your friend? Oh, there's hate all around. I don't care about your fucking politics. I don't want to hear about your politics. Oh, well, he said boo. Oh, and she said hooray. Now we're human beings right here. Human beings. We're here together. Come on. What you gonna do? What you gonna do when it falls on you? You're scaring a kid. You're beautiful kid.
All righty. Rock and roll.
Sometimes I find myself just like giggling to myself when I rewatched you dancing to that opening.
Yeah.
Because when you first did it, I couldn't see it.
I know. I'm just going crazy.
Yeah, you're just going crazy. And then you were like, oh, I was dancing to it. And then I like checked it out later. And I was just cracking. I loved it. I was like, this is yet another reason why I love
Oh
Dogon.
my gosh. This is great.
How's it going, man?
Hey, we're doing good. I think we're gonna get some kittens.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. It's been 10 years in the making, bro.
Well, you got to prepare, you know.
I know. Well, Rachel's never had pets in any way, shape, or form, so it's just taken a long time to even consider why. Why do people get pets? Who even cares? Like what's what's the draw of a dog or a cat or a pet? It's hard to understand if you haven't had the experience.
Yeah.
But then just to kind of over time, oops, I changed me to the wolf. Wait, rename, you're the wolf.
I'm the wolf.
Holy
right. You're the Dogon, I'm the wolf.
Well, maybe I should just be the Dogon. Okay,
right?
That's good. Let's do that. The Dogon. Yeah, that's great. I love it. You know what? I was realizing I don't think I finished this. I was watching this at super fast speed. I don't think I finished the Pax Judaica. I don't think I finished it. I got really close though. I know I'm past here, but
it's so good.
Well, yeah,
so
I
good.
know. I don't know what happened. I don't know how I didn't. Because I was loving it. I must have had to go do something or whatever. Anyway.
Yeah, probably something like that.
I don't remember.
Yeah, no, it's so good. He's really great. I really like his work. I honestly like I think I told you that story about with my dad where I've been like trying like part of the whole I'd say bigger picture message I try to get through to him is the degree that personal bias plays in how we see everything.
Mm-hmm.
And how it's such a point of disconnect between me and him, and how basically this is something I've been, especially in recent years, been trying to get through to him, and like on some level he gets it, but then on certain topics he just starts from the he just forgets it all.
Of course. Well, it's that I can understand that strategy.
Yeah, and then like it was his birthday like a month ago, and so he had a little party at his place for it, and so we went, and he was I was listening or reading something, and it was saying that the smaller minds, beginner minds, they focus on this, and then middle minds focus on that, but then the genius is all about understanding bias and personal bias and how much that influences everything that we see and perceive and how we understand the world.
Yeah, like confirmation bias and stuff like that kind of thing.
Yeah, but just like all types, because confirmation bias is obviously like such a big, if there's event, it's such a big part of that piece of that pie chart of the overall point he's trying to make. And I do think I don't think it's only confirmation, because I think there's other things that fall a little bit outside the realm of confirmation bias, because some things are more subtle, and maybe you could argue they still fall into confirmation bias. I would put it into a slightly separate category. But I guess I was just like many times, just so frustrated or annoyed with him. Like, dude, this is what I fucking always trying to talk to you about. And,
I know, exactly.
And it's like, you're coming to me, and it's like if I came to you and I don't know, and was like, hey, like Dillinger Escape Plan, have you heard this new band?
Or ever played any chess before?
Have you played chess?
What?
I know. And I was just like, don't you? And it's funny because I was scrolling through some of the things we'd sent each other on the text thread.
Yeah.
And then I found this. I stumbled upon this old video. That was this guy, the guy Dyer. Whatever. He's one of these like deep researchers into all this stuff.
Okay.
And it was like a clip of him on Alex Jones, whatever. And I like clicked on it and I started watching it, and he was like going into like the Carol Quigley Tragedy and Hope stuff, and going into citing passages from the book where they're talking about, because it's like the British, the Round Table group that helped set up like the Council on Foreign Relations, and it's really such a big piece of the puzzle of everything that's going on in the world. Because, it goes back to, Cecil Rhodes, the Rothschilds, the British royal family, basically like a lot of the brains and oligarchs behind the British Empire, and how they realized that they had to they started kind of like formulating new plans to like rebrand empire, go about creating world government, and basic, just rebranding empire, and they had to change up some of the ways they used to go about it, and I mean, it's they were talking deeply about the role that group and all those people played in bringing the Nazis to power, and how they had like a public stance against the Nazis, but a private stance in favor of them, and they were goading them. Kind of like what we did with Saddam Hussein, where we helped bring him to power, and to fight Iran, and then at some point, I guess his usefulness had ended, and he started maybe trying to renegotiate or bite the hand that feeds a bit, or nibble at the hand that feeds, and then that was when they were like, all right, we got to get rid of this guy. And so it was going into that stuff, which is a lot of what got me into all this stuff, to try to figure this stuff out. Because from when I was a little boy, that was when my dad, told me all about the Holocaust, and how the world hates the Jews, and all this stuff, and they're all out to get us. And I was like, how do the Nazis do what they did to little children? Like, they're little fucking kids, like in that song, and I couldn't understand. But listening to them talk, like, there was just, they're both like, I don't know, they sound like, devout Christians.
I was looking at some of his content. It looks like he's a Trinitarian who hooks up with God logic. I follow it, which we never talk about, but I follow all of these different religious debaters, both on the pro and con side.
Like Wes Hoff or something?
Yeah,
Less tough?
he's okay. He's okay. For the for the like God isn't real, the deconstruction zone, I think is the top number one. And because he knows Hebrew and Greek and was a pastor and went to seminary school, like an actually accredited one, and got to the point where when you, as you know too much about it, you realize, oh my God, this is just some evil shit right here. Or it doesn't make sense. So there's so many errors in the Bible, or it goes on and on and on. I can parrot all the points. And then I like the flip side. Mostly it's the Trinitarian Sam Shamoon and God Logic that I think are really excellent at debating points. I just enjoy listening to people passionately debate a topic. I don't really care what it is. And so there's a few of those people out there in a variety of different areas, but in terms of the religious ones, those are the people that I end up going to and listening to consistently, yeah.
I didn't know about that movement and that. I mean, I personally, I enjoy that type of debate. And and to bring it back to my point about bias, I'm someone that around the age of 6 or 7, I basically felt like, I just realized that realized that religion and God was like, there was something bullshit or misleading about it. And,
that's what I put. Anyway, keep going. I'll add. I know you're trying to get somewhere.
But I felt that on my own. It wasn't like there was some message that I picked up on in the media. I mean, eventually later, maybe 10 years later, something that would become a lot more popular in the 90s, where questioning God and religion became much more popular. And then once the 2000s came along, and then it became like this thing about the Christian right, and then all of a sudden, like everyone was like, "Oh God, religion is bullshit."
Yeah,
and I was like, "That's right. I was way ahead of my time," and all that, But now I realize, like, I'm not into religion, but there's something there that's very interesting and valuable and worthy of trying to understand. And I recognize my own biases against it.
Right.
And I try to factor that in. And whereas once I used to, I don't know, I didn't have a problem shitting on religion. Now I have I don't know, I'm not as proud of shitting on religion anymore. I mean, I'll be critical of it and say my honest thoughts, but I'm just aware of my biases against it. And so that makes me attempt to go about it in a more measured way, not be so against it.
Yes. Yeah, I made a video series. It's not all the way done, but I've been posting it. I've been posting it online, and it's how to hack your spiritual experience. And in my early on videos in it, what I say is, if there was a certain religion that worked, we would know. It would be so obvious because the people who belong to that religion would be praying or whatever, and they'd be getting all this shit that they want. The question is, why? We need to ask ourselves why doesn't, if one of the religions is real, why doesn't it work for everybody? You would expect if there's actually one belief system wherein you're able to communicate with the creator of the universe or something, it'd be pretty obvious, So we need to be asking ourselves, what's the deal? What's the deal with that?
Okay. So let's go with that. That's interesting, because to me, I would at least some of the thoughts that come to my head as I hear you say that is that, well, I wouldn't presuppose that there is just one creator, one, and maybe there is, I'm open to it, but I wouldn't necessarily assume that.
Right. That's what Deconstruction Zone says. He says either there's billions of gods or zero. The idea that you're just going to settle on that there's just one is insane, just mathematically. Either there's billions of gods or none. Anyway, keep going.
Or some. I mean, I'm open to that, but I'm also open. I'm honestly open to anything. I'm open to the possibility of that. Just like a hierarchical system, maybe at the top there's a council of 3 or 5.
Yeah, right.
You know, or maybe there's just one. You know, maybe
sure,
there's
maybe
a
there
council of
is.
3,
Maybe there
a
is just
council of
one.
5,
Yeah.
and maybe that above the council
There's
of
like
3
the
and the
main
council
god, and then there's like the godlets, as
right?
Yuji would say. You know, there's like a
Yeah,
council of godlets.
something like that, you know, and you know, I'm honestly open to anything. And at one point I was like completely closed to religion and God. And now I'm like, I'm not quite as close to it. I just
Right. I mean,
feel
if there is a god, that's probably pretty interesting.
yeah, yeah, right. I think so. And maybe like, you know, kind of like John Lennon says, God is a concept, you know, and you know, and I do think that it is like a concept or something to play with, you know, so that a person can have this idea, just like if like almost like imagine a small child that goes in the woods or something and there's a little ant hill or whatever, you know, or and he's like crushing ants, you know, and there's different ant hills and he crushes some ants and not others. And then the surviving ants are like, that is the God, you know, and that God, you know, and then they do things to curry the God's favor. And they build something that the child, next time it comes, the child likes it. You know, oh, look at this. This is interesting. These ants built this interesting thing, you know, and then now he doesn't kill those ants. And he kills the other ants, but not those ones. And they go, you see, we built him this thing, and now he likes us. And this is how we gain God's favor. And then so more of them build those things and it works. And he goes, I'm not going to kill those because these are interesting ants, you know, and then to those ants, that is God, you know, and it's this thing that's just out of their you know, vocabulary and awareness, but it's there and they're aware of it, and they can't do much about it because they have nothing to fight against it. You know, all they can do is try to curry its favor, you know, and playing out in some fashion or form like that. And then the next thing you know, those are the ants that survive and spread their seed, you know, and then they all learn about that God, and then there are inner wars and civil wars amongst the ants, you know, like I'm just saying, like, as an example, it could be something like that.
Yes.
And but that child isn't the creator of everything, but to those ants it is. And that child is just one child of many children in his family, you know, who just live in this tiny little part of this gigantic, you know, world, you know, Earth that is part of a solar system, which is part of a universe, and blah, 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 you know, and so our inability to understand these things, but we're trying to understand them, even though there's no way we can truly fully understand everything, but we can be like 1 + 1 = 2, 2 + 2 = 4, 4 + 4 = 8, 8 + 8 = 16, and then construct these tautologies and philosophies, which are, you know, trying to make sense and understand this world that we live in that we just struggle to really understand, you know, and make sense of. So we do the best we can. And then you get a lot of us flawed human beings who are driven by ego and a lot of bullshit, you know, let alone once those, maybe some wise people build these things and create these tautologies and philosophies, but then it's like, you know, who's going to succeed them when they die? You know, it's all these things that, you know, and I'm just doing my own version of what the ants are doing, you know, or trying to make sense of it all, trying to, you know, say there's some sort of logic, there's some sort of rational, there's some sort of patterns happening, you know, and now we can't fully understand them, but we can do some things to make some sense of some of them, you know, but then it's like, you know, we're going to get some things wrong, and then people are gonna be like, well, this guy got that wrong, and so he's a fucking idiot, and fuck him. And then there becomes a whole group against me, you know. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's like the shit's just gonna happen. Like I guess in a more perfect world, you know, you'd have like the way like you and I have a thing where we're like, hey, you know what? We don't have to see everything perfectly the same, but we come together and we discuss it. You know, we can disagree, but we're not trying to like destroy each other.
Yes.
You know, but the old way that you could call science, to some extent, is like, no, you want people trying to destroy it. And there's a logic to that. It's not like there's no logic, because it's like, all right, here's this idea. I don't just want people who like me and are trying to kiss my ass or be nice to me. Like, I also want to hear what the people who don't like me and don't agree, like, what are their criticisms? And I want to take those into account, because if I'm really after the truth, or something closer to the truth, then I want to welcome the criticism instead of try to fight it off just because I want to defend my ego. And I do think that religion, there's just and humans in general, there's just too much ego involved, and that's a bias, and you have to factor that in, and it's really hard for people to do, and especially once you've built a name and a reputation and like a brand off of a certain approach, and then what happens if you like realize you got something wrong, or you need to rethink some things? It's like you're like suffering from like an audience capture, and then you can't go too much against that thing, or you need to find a way to be like, all right, I got one or two things wrong. Here are my corrections, but overall, I'm not really changing that much. But at least I had the good decency to publicly admit I was wrong. Whereas, this past weekend I went to a family thing and I saw my stepmother's mother, and she like, I was like, I didn't really want to get sucked in. She's kind of like an energy vampire. And she started like, Josh, we haven't talked in a while. Like, let's talk about politics, because she used to always like to. I know. And I'm like, oh God.
Oh
like,
no.
I know. I'm like, why are you doing this?
Yeah, why?
And I'm like, I don't want to talk to any of you people about this shit. I used to, but now I don't. I know where you guys
you can predict
from.
it. You can predict it. You can write everything before it's going to happen. Yep.
Totally. I'm like, I don't need to do this with you. Come on, you just believe in what you believe. I believe, it's like, it's all good.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to like change your mind anymore. And I'm
exactly.
I'm not trying to, I know where you're coming from, and I'm surrounded by it.
Yep.
And I'm not interested in it anymore, and it's okay. Just you go and do your thing and I'll do my thing. But she just like, no, like she just, of course it's just like, Trump is the devil and he's Hitler and it's like, and I'm just sitting there nodding like, okay, you just say your piece, go for it, and it's just, everything is about Trump. And then she was talking about, and this guy she knows, and he's really smart and really nice, good person, except he likes Trump. And he was like Latino. And she was like, I couldn't understand it. I was like, how can you like Trump? How can you like what he's doing? And he was like, look, I believe everything is God's will. And and I think that Trump is part of God's will and God's plan. And so whether I understand it or not, I just trust it and I believe in it, and therefore I root for it. And she was like, I couldn't believe it. He's so smart and he's such a good human being. How could he believe in such nonsense? And she went on about that. And I was like, look, I was like, that's exactly how I feel about all Republicans and all Democrats. I'm like, I don't understand how you guys believe in what you believe in, but you do. So I just try to accept it, and I just try to accept you think Trump is the devil and Hitler, and the Republicans think Biden and Obama is Hitler and the devil, okay, I get it, and I just don't understand how you guys stay stuck in that little intellectual room forever, and you can't get out of it, and I don't know, it was, it was civil. I didn't lose my cool. I just like kind of let her say her shit. And that was probably the most provocative thing I said, and when I said that, she didn't really have much response. But in the end, she was like, I'll tell you. She's like, I used to think pretty much everything you said was crazy and nonsense, but she's like, I'll admit, now I'm a little bit closer to seeing things the way you do. She's like, I once thought it was ridiculous to think that big corporations and, would meet up in dark smoke-filled rooms and make decisions away from the public, and that's what would dictate policy. But now she's like, it seems like that's what happens. And I was like, well, okay, well, thanks for saying that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, that was nice of you to say that.
And then it just ended fine.
Yeah, no, it ended fine.
Good.
It ended fine.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it was. I didn't lose my cool. She didn't lose her cool. I just tried to listen, and I was trying to use it as like an opportunity to like focus on my breath, and just, just not react too much,
Right.
and
Yep.
just accept like, hey, she sees things. And I've had a lot of people say that to me, where I'm like, well, I say something to them, like we start talking about things, and I'm like, well, you and I see things very differently. And then they go, we once did, but now I think we see things a lot more similarly. And I'm like, really? Because I don't think so, but if you think so, okay, I'll take it.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe I'll take it. Maybe you've trended towards my side a little bit, but whatever.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Because then I'm like, oh, let's test it. Like, how about this? And they're like, whoa, that's too much.
That's too far. That's too far. That's too far. You went too far now.
Now you went too far.
Did you say aliens?
Yeah. Oh, you see, that's the thing. Like, now I know, like, something like aliens, I just like would never bring up, But then, then there's some people that it's interesting. That's why it's like I'm so fascinated. It's such an outsider at this point that I know all these different people that are parts of different group things or subsets of other group things. And basically you have to just know what their third rails are. What are the things that you just stay away from because there is going to be no bridging of the gap for them. Like there's just certain things that if you bring up aliens to one person, they're like, oh, you believe in aliens, you're into nonsense, but then I know, like, for example, I know of like some people that are kind of like these, I don't know, like rich tech bro types living in like San Francisco, and they're like, now they're like really into or for a little while, like when the New York Times was like going into the alien stuff and those whistleblowers were coming out, they were like, what is, talking to Steph and be like, what does Josh think about aliens? And I'm like, don't come to me for your opinions, for my opinions now. I like
it's 20 years too late.
Yeah, exactly. Go think whatever the New York Times tells you and stay away from me.
Yeah. There's some drones or something. All right, the end.
Yeah, right.
Bye.
It's just
Talk
drones.
to you later. Oh my gosh, it's good.
So good. But I do feel like my calling is to help try to bring these different group things together and bridge the gaps.
Oh yeah, like me too.
Right?
Me too.
Like the Flea song, like build a bridge, shine a light.
Well, yeah, and the only question is what works.
Right? Exactly.
And it's not it will probably not be the way I want it to be, which that's making me think of being a therapist, that at first you want to help people, and then you realize that ain't gonna work. And then you're like, I'm a therapist. I have ideas and knowledge about human beings and wellness. I want people to listen to what I have to say. And then you realize that isn't going to happen. And so then you think, or I think, damn, okay, how will I be able to control anything? How will I be able to help at all?
Mm-hmm.
And then finally you're getting closer, or I'm getting closer to asking the right question, which is what works? What is actually going to work? You know? And so then you abandon the first two strategies, and there's two surprising answers, which I think you were kind of sharing a perspective on the second part of what I'm about to say in terms of your approach with people. That one, the fastest way to gain control is to let go of control. And two, and this is the most surprising thing, and probably only something that in the past maybe year and a half or maybe 2 years, I've actually understood in myself and with other people. What all beings, including the different parts of ourselves, the different intelligences within ourselves, if you'll allow me to use those terms, is there even intelligence at all? I don't know. Are there different intelligences? I don't fucking know. I'm just saying, if there are, we all want the same things, which is to be listened to in a very deep way, which is sometimes called being held, listened to deeply, thanked or shown appreciation for being willing to be vulnerable in a world that typically is going to punish you for being vulnerable. And then and then to think deeply about what was said, and perhaps take action on the information that's shared. However, sometimes once we are heard and we say how we're feeling or thinking and what we want and what we need and stuff like that, we realize that there actually isn't anything to do, that there isn't like an action to take. It's like, I really hate Trump. I wish he would be out of office. Like, well, you can't do anything about that. Like, you can like protest and stuff like that. But if the idea in your mind is, I got to get Trump out of office, like, look, you don't have control over that. That sometimes you realize there isn't action to be taken, or you're just okay, actually, I can't get him out of office, but I can run for local government. I can start doing certain things. There is action that I can take. Or if the other person is saying stuff to you, they're upset. Then after you hear them and you're like, okay, thank you for sharing that. Then you think about it deeply over, days, hours, days, weeks, whatever. And then if you come up with something and take action on it, the other person will recognize that because it's based on what they said. So that really, even the inner critic part of us, the part of us that's judgmental, angry, whatever, all it wants is to be listened to. And then maybe then we take action on what it wants, perhaps, if it's actually reasonable, if it makes sense to us, because sometimes it will have good points. Mostly it's just going to be angry, critical, judgmental, and say like, don't do anything, don't take any action, just go into your room and don't do anything, don't take any chances. You know what I mean? So we can't totally listen to it, or if we do, we will end up not going after what we want. But it's going to have some ideas. It's like, maybe don't tell that person because they always shit on your ideas. It's like, okay, yeah, that's probably a good point. Yeah, it's right. Maybe I won't talk to them about this new project that I'm undertaking or something like that. But then amazingly, what beings want is to be listened to in a really deep way. That's it. And that's actually what people want. And that if you give, and that surprisingly, in giving people what they want, then their prefrontal cortex turns back on and they start acting like really intelligent beings. That I think people are so incredibly interesting and amazing in particular ways, but that when our prefrontal cortex is off, or we're anxious, depressed, whatever, when that's taken over our behavior, then we're not creative anymore. We're not intelligent. We're not humorous. We're not able to be philosophical or spiritual or whatever. And until the part of us that has hijacked control of our nervous system is listened to enough, it won't let go. It's not going to let go of control. And then once it does, then boom, the whole system comes back on. And that's what that was then what I started seeing happen with myself and other people is that once you do that first part, then the thing that whatever's bothering the person, they start coming up with ideas on their own, and their ideas are going to be as good but usually better than my idea over here on what I think they should do. If I can do the first part and just listen to them until their fucking brain comes on, then all of a sudden they start generating the same ideas I was having over here as the therapist of, I think you should do X, Y, and Z. I'm already kind of thinking that in my mind, but I know if I say that, that won't work because of everything I previously said. That's helping someone. And the issue with help is that it implies that there's something wrong with them. And so it's coming from an assumption that is already diminishing. They're just a human, just like I am. They're just upset or anxious or whatever. If their brain comes back on, if their system comes back on, they will be able to come up with a creative, intelligent solution or solutions to what they want to do. I am not going to be needed, really. It's very rarely that I'm actually needed once the person's brain is on. But what I can do is help. It's not about the words or the talking. It's about the listening and the body language, like you hit on. Like I have to control my nervous system while they're talking. I have to be calm over here. I go to my stomach a bazillion times to just go blah while they're talking, because I have to do what I'm talking about. It's so much, like they say, most communication, 95% of communication is nonverbal or something, right? It is not about the words. It is not about the ideas. It is not about the thinking. It is about all the other stuff going on. And then if I can get their brain back on, then human beings are extraordinary problem solvers. You know what I mean? We can realize, oh wait, actually I don't need to do anything. This is outside of my control. It's not my fault that they're an asshole, that somebody else is an asshole. That's not my fault. I don't need to do something about that, but it takes the whole system being on to be able to see that, to be able to philosophize, to be able to be spiritually minded in the way the person wants to, or ethically minded, however the person works, right? The whole system needs to be on. When we're angry, everything sucks. When we're sad, everything is terrible. That's how it is. It's not nuanced and multi-dimensional and intelligent. We're not applying our self-consciousness to the problem. We're stuck in a emotional response.
And it's hard to get out of the cage of their emotional response.
Right, unless time will do it. Time will do it, because you'll eventually get tired. You'll eventually run. You'll burn all the calories and blah blah blah. But you can get re-triggered back again. The idea is, what will actually allow the prefrontal cortex to come back on and allow the person to be like present and have their full faculties to their use, be able to use all their faculties.
Or like in poker, they say when you lose a bad hand. Let's say you have a great hand and you go all in with someone and you both flip your cards over, and then the next card comes and then the person sucks out on you, and basically you had them dominated. They had like a 1% chance to win, and then they get that 1%, and then it's called you're on tilt.
Exactly right.
After that, you're just pissed. Yes. And then you start playing terrible,
of course,
angry and bad.
Well, because it means aggressive. It means you're going to start over betting now.
Overplaying.
Absolutely right. You become predictable now.
Yeah.
You've lost the thing, the intelligence, the surprise, the humor, the looking at things from a lot of different angles that makes human beings such powerful problem solvers.
Yeah, because like Ram Dass says, is like to be the observer.
Yes, exactly.
And you've lost the ability to be the observer.
Exactly now, right.
The observer, and this brings it back to God.
Yes, exactly right. Exactly correct.
God is the God is playing the play. Yes. And he plays all the players on the game on the stage. And so when you do that, you can be like Frank Oz, from like the Muppet Show, and be like, Grover, and then you go like, I'm Kermit the Frog, and all these characters. But when if he was just on tilt, it was like he would only have like one voice.
Yes.
He couldn't jump around and be all the players.
Yes.
He just becomes Oscar the Grouch.
Yes. Exactly right.
And it's
and now everyone knows what he's going to do. You can predict the behavior, the words, the everything. It becomes predictable. It's a program, because we run a program. Fight, flight, freeze, appease, have sex, fall asleep. Those are the choices. It's not a lot of choices. It's a very limited amount of choices of what you're going to do.
Yeah. And that brings us to the idea and the strategy of something like Frankism, or Luciferian or Satanism, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Where you start playing these strategy games where you actually get your opponent to be on tilt.
Correct.
And that's the whole point.
Yeah.
The whole point isn't like, all right, this person might be a better wrestler or tennis player or chess player, but then if I piss them off properly, then all of a sudden, and I see that now they're pissed off, all of a sudden now I can better predict what they're going to do.
Absolutely.
And I can set traps for them subtly enough, and then they won't see it because they're too rattled and too on tilt, and then they're just going to fall into these traps. So we can even beat better chess players than us. And that's why it's a very important strategy, to do things like that. And then let alone you do that to the point where you infiltrate enough of the proper power structures so that now, even though you're one giant organization, you actually are many, no one knows you're one organization, but you are many different organizations that you've infiltrated. So now when let's say Candace Owens or Tucker Carlson, for example, like they say their things, and then all of a sudden it's like everyone's attacking them, and it's like, gee, isn't that funny how that happened?
Yes.
And then Tucker Carlson gets called, awarded anti-Semite of the year, and then, Barry Weiss, who that retarded fucking, Zio pig, who used to work for the New York Times and then left, being like, it's too woke. But now she's a fucking woke retard too. She's just a right-wing woke retard, and she's like now in charge. She's in charge of CBS now. This girl's fucking retarded, and she's the one that hosted that town hall thing with Erika Kirk, and it totally backfired.
Yeah.
Because she hosted this thing and it was like, oh, we're gonna, show what's worse than your husband getting assassinated. It's like these evil conspiracy theorists and these, and they're all anti-Semites, and it's like that's what she's put there to do, and it backfired, and it backfired so bad that Erika Kirk had to go fly out to Candace Owens and have a 4.5-hour meeting with her.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God. Like Erika Kirk was like, yep, I gotta go have a 4.5
Yeah, and that I don't think that worked very well either. Are you seeing the Camp Huachuca stuff?
No, tell me.
On one of the really recent Candace Owens things, she interviewed a guy. He's an older guy. He's retired, but he had been in the military and based out of Camp Huachuca, and he there was something he was researching about his time in the service or something. He wanted to get information, and so he went to the camp and went there and was looking around trying to find information, and he kept getting bad, these officers would say, okay, go down this road, it's in this building, and then you go there and there'd be no one there, and so then he'd ask somebody else, and so he's having to go all around. And the previous day when he had checked into his hotel, he had, there were two really striking individuals in the lobby of the hotel, which he later realized who they were. One was Erika Kirk, and the other was one of the key guys that does his security.
Okay.
Later on, when he's at, the next day he goes to Camp Huachuca. He's walking around. He ends up in a building where there's obviously some high profile meeting going on. There's like a lot of buzz and whatever. And when he asks, like, is this where I'm supposed to get this information? They realize like he's not supposed to be there. And so they take him out and then wait. And they have, I think they do like there was like a police report made about it. They also like call the police, but he explains himself. And then I think they took him to jail for like 2 hours and then like released him or something. While he's there, he sees a congressman there. And then the same two individuals from the hotel, Erika Kirk and the head guy of one of the head guys of his security detail at this big, like secret, quote unquote, like a meeting for the military. So, and that's the day before Charlie Kirk is shot.
Really?
And so for Candace, what she's done is interview him and then started tracking down information to prove that this guy was actually there, that she got the police report. Because he could have just said all this, right? You know what I'm saying, right? So she's got all this supporting documentation now that she's either gotten or that he's provided that show that he was there. And that there was and just the interview with him, he just comes across as very, very believable, retired guy who didn't recognize her at that time. But then after the next day or two, when he saw her on television, he was like, oh my God, that's who that was,
Wow.
that I saw in those two locations there. So that's a really interesting new development.
Yeah.
Which is like something Ian Carroll is looking at, is the possibility of it being obviously a setup, but maybe like he's still alive kind of setup. And you go, okay, I'm probably gonna get killed. Let's fake this, and then fake your own death and use that, or it was he's definitely dead and it was a huge kind of inside job, because what that Camp Huachuca is most well known for, one of the things is its super fast drones. And so one idea is that perhaps a drone might have been used to actually do the unaliving, anyway, that's just some new stuff in that area. And then did you check out this lady about the Trump's ballroom is a lie thing?
Yeah, I did.
Oh my gosh, I thought that was so interesting. That seems like it's a bunker slash data center that's really being built. Which again, it's like, that means he ain't leaving. Like, can he just be like, okay, I'm not president anymore, but I'm going to sit down in my bunker. I'm just going to, like, this is my new home. Like, I built this, so I'm just going to live here the rest of my life or something, because he's not going to leave. You don't build a sick bunker data center or whatever and then just leave it. Come on. He loves throwing parties and that kind of thing. I'll just be surprised, or he's going to try and wrangle a new job. Like I'm the bunker president, who other people can come in, but like I get to be in the bunker, you know what I mean? I'll throw parties upstairs in the ballroom. And then when I'm done, I'll come down to my man cave, my man bunker in the ballroom or something, He's not going to leave that.
Which
although he loves playing golf, motherfucker.
Which it kind of almost reminds me of a little this, what you're the last thing you're saying about if he doesn't leave and he'll just go upstairs and be play some other official role.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like that's kind of what with the Smedley Butler thing, something they were trying to do with him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they were like, so they're like, wait, so he's like, so are you saying that you want to get rid of FDR and put me in as president? And they're like, no, not like that, because that'll be something that'll alarm too many people. What we'd want to make is, because he was basically like the vice president, who I believe was like Nance Gardner at the time. He would be the guy that would succeed. Like, no, that would upset people and rile people up too much. Like, what we'd want to do, we create a new post for you. You'd be like a super secretary. You'd be like this other position, but you'd be the real president. You'd really run the show, and we would just and he's like, so then you're saying he said something like, oh, so then you say I'd be the real president, then what would FDR do? They're like, he would go around and take pictures and kiss babies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just be this figurehead, which is, by the way, I don't know if you know this, like a lot of, the right wing feels that Obama was really the secret president.
Right.
During Biden's term.
He still is now, if it works for my point, okay?
So, I mean, and when you match
Jim Carrey is in an Obama suit playing Trump. That's why. That's how these things happen,
And how about the that Alan Dershowitz thing with Mary Madelson, where Trump was giving a talk, and then it was said that like Alan Dershowitz is saying that I could legally run for another term, and so it's like they're laying the groundwork for, but that's like, I mean, that's again, like, to me, the highest is understanding the biases. And I'm not saying, again, my point isn't to say that Obama wasn't secretly the president for Biden, or that Trump isn't secretly, gonna building this bunker to have a third term. Like, I don't know. I'm open to anything.
Yeah.
But these are things that, maybe there's some truth to them, but there's clearly bias of people who want that and people who like are deathly afraid of that, and so there's something there on a bias level. If you have such a polarizing thing, that seems to be like, liquid gold to the rulers. Is just something that's, if it's ultra polarizing, it's
because that means emotional. That means emotional. Exactly. That means you turn off the prefrontal cortex and you get fight, flight, freeze, appease, have sex, fall asleep. You get those. Once the emotionality reaches a certain level, then boom, it becomes so easy to control that and predictable.
Right.
And once you see what the person tends toward, they tend to freeze. It's like, okay, cool.
Right.
That person tends to ignore and just goes to sleep.
Right.
Doesn't care. Okay, cool.
Okay,
so it's predictable. So now you know what that person's going to do.
Exactly. So you set some traps for the people that are going to fall asleep. You're going to set other traps for the ones who are going to get angry and riled up and want to do something about it. You'll set other traps for the people that want that to happen.
Yeah, control systems for each of those. That's all you need. You don't need a million. You need 6. It's a lot of work, but it's definitely not impossible.
Yeah.
And if you're within an intelligence agency, then that's that's all you care about, right? Is because the people who are doing stuff that's going to change the tide of the status quo are going to be doing it out of emotions.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like
That's right.
That's so that's what you track, and that's what you want to be able to control. And I know Jiang hits on that the mood modification, and I know Kruz hits on that as well, because who cares, right? I mean, like, why are you going to waste all of your time modifying people's moods unless it's really beneficial to you, right? Like, like otherwise it's kind of like, like what's the point? It's a lot of work for no reason. But if that's what you care about, then it's totally worth it. Then so then being able to manage, control, predict people's emotions then must be really important to people in positions of power for a bazillion different amazingly interesting reasons. It's not even just for one. It's not just to control what products you buy. It means also it'll keep you from ever going after your own spiritual or philosophical truths. It'll keep you from going after your dreams of being a ballerina. You know, it will keep people from doing that stuff, you know. Man, I don't know why. It's just making me think. I was just learning about duckweed. Bro,
what's that?
Ever heard about duckweed?
No, tell me.
Duckweed is one of the most healthy plants that you can ever eat. It has more protein than soybeans, like way more. It also produces, which was not supposed to be possible, vitamin B12, which they always say, you know, if you're a vegetarian, you need to get B12. Okay. And so I was watching this video, and it just showed how basically when the B12 thing was really recent, but the protein availability and what it is, the way it grows, it's these little tiny circular green discs. There's no root system at all. There's no stem system. It's just a little green disc that lives on top of water. It grows like faster than almost any other plant as well, because it doesn't have to do roots or anything. It just is taking the nutrients from the water and the sun and just like going. So basically the video was talking about when it was kind of discovered how amazing it was like immediately a number of corporate interests were like, damn, we got to get rid of this shit ASAP. So they developed very particular pesticides. They developed all sorts of particular stuff to go after this. And only recently has it been kind of realized that, oh my God, anybody can grow duckweed and have a essentially infinite / free, I mean, as close to infinite and free as you can get supply of protein and B12. So yeah, the reason my brain is connecting, it may seem like a non sequitur, but it's that they don't want us to be self-sufficient. And that's what martial arts says too. The old martial art philosophical books about why do you teach, and this is coming back, we were talking about this last time too. Why teach martial arts to the people? Because it makes poor people strong. Because it makes poor people's bodies stronger than their rulers. Because it makes poor people's immune systems stronger than the rulers. That ethically, philosophically, that's why. Is that and do people that want to be in control and power want the underlings to be stronger, healthier, and self-sufficient? No. You want them dependent on you. You want them weak. You want them coming to you for everything, and you want them freaked out so that they're willing to do that, right? That you freak them out about that stuff. Oh, there's a pandemic. You got it. Now you got to do this. You got to do that. But you use this emotionality that we're talking about as a way to control people so that they are not self-sufficient, so that they're not like, oh, no Facebook, no problem. You know, it's like, okay, it's okay. That's fine. I've got my duckweed and my family, and I'm growing all my own medicine, and got some solar panels, and bye, like, see you later. You know, they don't want us self-sufficient. That would be terrible. That would be terrible. You want people as sheeple, meaning moved by emotionality, controllable through emotionality. But anyway, duckweed, bro. I'm gonna start looking into how to start growing it, and
it's just
you know, blah blah blah.
Spelled as one would assume, the word duck and the word weed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm gonna just pull up really quick on YouTube so that it's just what am I doing? Hopefully the one I watched. Duckweed is like history or something. Hopefully the one I watched just comes straight up. It might have been on my phone.
Duckweed. At first, I thought you were going to say it was like weed for ducks.
No,
like,
no.
This shit gets ducks. Ah.
No, it's so interesting how it's been like, it's like, yeah, right. How duckweed could save the world and your aquarium too. Yeah, it's just all sorts of crazy stuff here. And like it used to be super common, and then it was like, oh no, we got to get rid of it. Duckweed, the tiny superfood of the future. It's 45% protein.
Wow.
By weight. Holy crap. Anyway, plus B12. Meow, which was not supposed to be like possible, you know. That wasn't supposed to be there's no other plant that we know of that does that. There's no other plant that we know of that does that. And there probably are. I'm just saying our knowledge is probably limited, but that was one of the interesting things in the video I was learning, that only recently did they, when they looked at it, because it has a lot of other chemicals in it that are really rare, but and including that one. Anyway.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, man. Did you see the Chappelle?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Excellent.
He's like, "Fuck you, Bill Maher."
Oh yeah, that was great. That was great.
That was great. And now he's like, and my code word, if these guys ever fucking do what they did to Charlie Kirk, to me, or worse, if they somehow co-opt me, and somehow, you know, start making me say shit I don't believe, you know, and he's like, I'll think of a code word something I would never say.
Yeah, but that won't get me in trouble, you know. Yeah, exactly.
He's like, oh yeah, I know what it'll be. It'll be, I stand with Israel.
Yeah.
And did you see Nicki Minaj with fucking?
Oh yeah, that was very strange. That was very, very strange.
That was so weird, man.
And then the woman who just recently, maybe a day or two ago, like just did some brief research on Erika Kirk's dating history, because Erika Kirk had said, like, I didn't date anybody for 5 years, but then or drink alcohol or anything. And it's like she's on television doing both. But it's like what? It's such a, like the woman was saying, it's like it's such a weird thing to lie about, because it's just right here.
Yeah,
it's just like right here. So strange. And Erika Kirk has made me feel weird from the very beginning.
Yeah, totally.
And I just couldn't deny it. There was nothing. It's what I started talking about to you, I don't know, earlier this year, that I'm just listening to that inner gut sense with people, trusting it so much more than I used to. I used to argue against it or try and give people the benefit of the doubt. But now it's just been proven right every time. It just, sometimes it takes years before you find out, I knew it. That person made me feel weird.
Totally.
I knew it.
No, I'm the same way. I'm like, I just trusting my gut more and more.
Yeah.
You know, and it doesn't mean I can prove it to someone or even to myself, but it's just, instead of being
but there's something going on. That's the thing. There's something. 95% of information or communication is nonverbal. There's so much more information that we're getting than we can really even realize in the moment. There's so much information, so we literally cut down the amount that we're putting into conscious awareness, but really there's so much streaming in, and I think that's the bodily sense. That's all the other extra sensory abilities and senses that humans have. It's responding to all of that stuff, because the thinking and the thoughts and everything, while great, it's a really new invention. The thinking and the thoughts and the language and the talking and stuff is a new thing. It grew out of millions, perhaps billions of years of evolution without any of that stuff. We had to get all the other stuff, all of our instincts and all of our emotions and stuff like that had to be online and perfected long before this new cool flower could grow out of it, called language and thinking, which is awesome. It's an awesome flower, but it is not the dirt out of which it grew. It is not the dirt. It uses the dirt. It's one with the dirt. It comes from the dirt, but it's not. There's a different thing.
Yeah, it's one of the flowers. It's not the garden.
No, exactly right. Exactly right.
Yeah. I know, and I do feel like the more and so I was telling you, I was listening to that Dyer with Alex Jones, and I really appreciate the work of Dyer, but I don't agree with him on everything, and I see some things pretty differently than him. But there's a lot of stuff I think he does great work, and there are things that one of the things. I want to try to remind me to get back to that where I was just about to get, because I was originally bringing him up because. He was talking, he sees things through, you pointed out some more specifically the Christian lens that he sees things through. But, he talks about, he was talking about, and I've heard him talk about before, how a lot of the 60s culture was a psyop.
Yeah.
And even some of the people that we love and admire, people like Ram Dass, people like Terence McKenna,
of course, yeah,
who I still love,
of course,
I love, that, and I don't think they were wittingly part of something. I more think that the psyop was putting these drugs out there and experimenting, like the MK Ultra, starting to use some of the MK Ultra stuff on the population.
Well, you get so advanced in the top secret areas, they get so advanced that they have to start releasing.
Yeah,
because they're like, they've got like iPods and we're still on sticks, and it gets kind of embarrassing. And they're like, shit, okay, let's see. Let's get them. Let's do like a radio. Okay. All right, let's do a radio. And then you let them have a radio for a while. Like, okay, let's do a small black and white screen, let's do that. Okay.
Yeah.
You can't, it's not,
you put in the cock an inch at a time.
Exactly. Yeah. And you need, because that's business. That's making money. You're going to make money in industry off of those things. And that's good. And you can control the rate at which it's going to come out. So it's really, that's good. It's like Bill Hicks says, it's like we sell all of our old weapons to our enemies, because at that point we sell them like muskets, but we have like anti-musket spray.
Yeah, totally. We give them Superman spray, but we have kryptonite.
Right, exactly. Yeah. It's like, and that's good. That's a moneymaker. You're in control, and you're kind of able to push the status quo or development or science at your own rate to have control and make money, which, wow, sounds great. Oh, wow, I get to have control and make money. Okay, amazing. Right? And so, yeah, you have to let some of the stuff out. Just slowly at your own rate. You squeeze out every dime from it, because you don't want to get to the free energy stuff too fast. Let's squeeze the oil, and then let's squeeze the electricity, the battery and the electricity stuff, right? Let's squeeze all the profit out of that. And then when you're just right on the tipping point of some rando making those anti-gravity engines or something, then you release it. Then Apple comes out with it or whatever. And it's like, okay, yeah, we're right in time to maximize profits. I think I got to get my power cord.
Okay.
But then you're saying you're trying to get back to Dyer.
Oh, Yeah, just about like when I first heard him like some years back talking about the 60s counterculture movement being a psyop, that at first I was like very resistant against it. And I was like, in large part because I like it, you know, I like the psychedelics. I like Ram Dass. I like the music. I like McKenna, and all these things. But, um, and, and honestly, I think there are not, on one level, there are people very high up that are monitoring, that are watching the watchers, that are looking and compiling data and recognizing patterns that the people, say, putting out the technology or putting out the psychedelics or putting out the music, aren't really. Those people are just putting out the music, putting out the technology, putting out the drugs. That's what they're doing. And then they're getting paid to do that and monitor that, and they think it's all about that. But then there are people watching all of those things.
Of course, yes, absolutely.
And
well, it's going to keep going, right? Because the watcher
yeah,
phenomenon is an infinite regression.
yeah, it's
So you
turtles
can
all the
keep
way
having
up.
the watcher watching watchers, and then who's watching that and who's watching that, and
Yeah,
with the idea being that the most power would be however far you can go back. That would be the
yeah,
one with the most power. Who is
right.
the final watcher? Is there a god, or is there some
Hmm.
massively successful civilization that actually monitors everybody, and or something, right? Like whoever's at whoever you can see at the furthest end of that line is going to have what's called the most power.
Yeah, yeah, and I could see how. See, it's interesting, right? Because see, like for example, it's like most people like to shit on things they don't understand and don't
Right.
really know much about. And so I hear them shitting on, and Jay Dyer's like, he's clearly a really smart guy and really well researched and really knows his stuff. But he's like, then he's talking about psychedelics and he's like, yeah, I once had a bad trip, and I saw some sort of entity on a bad acid trip, and it wasn't just in my head; it was some entity that I met, But they view it as like a demon,
Yes.
and I'm like, and part of me wants to shit on that because I'm like I was saying, my bias is to be skeptical of religion and Christianity and Judaism and whatever, and so when he says it's a demon, I'm like, but there's another part of me, well, don't, keep your mind open. Who knows? What they're calling a demon, that's the lens they see it through. But,
sure, could there be predatory creatures? Like,
yeah,
sure, it makes sense. Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah,
Okay.
totally. You want to call it a demon, someone else calls it an alien or an interdimensional being or super intelligence, whatever, tomato, tomato, So it's again, the real point is to bring us all together instead of saying, no, it's not a demon, you're a Christian. It's a interdimensional being or it's an alien,
Yeah.
let's like whatever. And
Yeah, that's the semantics part. That's the part that everybody gets caught on.
yeah, exactly. And so I don't want to do that, but I was like feeling like, part of the thing, on some level MK Ultra on some level was using these drugs, and this is the stuff that we've heard about. So I always assume the stuff we've heard about is just the tip, and it's the tip of the cock, it's just the tip of the iceberg, and but the tip that we can see or hear about is that they use these drugs in part to, they want to experiment on Soviet spies and get them to tell the truth. If you got them high enough,
right? The sodium pentothal and others. And
yeah,
what I've heard is that it's actually more of a cocktail. They developed more of a cocktail over time that they've got
error.
cocktails
Yeah,
that are really good for a variety of situations.
Mm-hmm. So right, there's that. There's, turn them into Manchurian candidates, to turn people into sex slaves. And then Jack Kruz, goes into how, the light, that's when the real secret reasons for MK Ultra was the light. And that was when they realized the blue light and how harmful it was, and how you could do so much with the light.
Again,
But
meaning control people's emotions.
yeah, yeah. And but
weaken the watcher consciousness.
uh-huh. And it was interesting because they were kind of Dyer was kind of like poo-pooing on, like normalizing psychedelics and normalizing the shamanic experience. And I was kind of like, well, what's so bad about, getting people to have their own shamanic experience, to go on like a vision quest of their own. And I guess, well, you could say some of the bad is if you do it unguided or not under the right circumstances, people can get hurt, people can get fucked up, or like me when I had that vision, I was on some, psychedelic when I had it, and it scared the fuck out of me.
Yeah.
I saw too much.
Yeah.
And I bit off more than I could chew at the time. And it scared the shit out of me. Like it split me in half. It like fractured me deep in a way that like I'm still healing from that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still working to heal that.
Mm.
And when I was falling apart afterwards, I was having these deep experiences, where I was talking to things and entities and voices within myself.
Yes.
That, and I want, and while doing that, one of the things I was realizing was I had to increase my capacity. And that became one of my mantras at one point, was that like part of what happened, part of why I broke was because I like saw too much and I wasn't ready for it, and I had to increase my capacity. It was like you pour an ocean into like a coffee cup, it just spills all over.
Yeah.
So there, I definitely got fucked up from that. But at the same time, I've spent these past handful of years busting my ass in many different ways and working my ass off to learn from that. And I feel like I've, look, there were some harms, there were some bad things. It did some real harm, and some serious pain. But it also allowed me to, and I feel like that's been my experience with psychedelics for a lot of people I do psychedelics with, and they'd be like, whoa, and having a cool time. Like that wasn't me.
Mm-hmm.
I would have these strange, dark, I would go deep, deep, deep down, and it was, it wasn't always fun for other people to be around me, and then I would start spouting this like stream of consciousness, like poetry, and they'd be like, what are you saying? And it was like I had to find the right people, that I could do that around, because in a way I was like becoming my own shaman. And
exactly correct.
But I didn't have my own Don Juan to teach me, and so I'm just saying there are harms and risks, but I also, I can't help but feel, and maybe it's a part of me that deep down is an optimist, that feels like this whatever it is that is this thing I'm trying to better understand and keep track of. I don't think it's all bad. I don't think it's all demonic.
No.
Like I think maybe some of it is, but I don't know. I and look, like, oh God, I mean, it's hard. Like, I don't want to become a defender of it. That's not what I'm trying to do. I really just want to try to understand it as best I can. But again, remember I was saying earlier, like us humans, we can't understand there. We're just like, the one thing that unites us all is ignorance. And so I accept that ignorance, but I'm still trying, and I'm kind of, I don't know, I just refuse to stop. There are times when I get really scared and I stop and I need to back off a little bit. I remember like when I was having the breakdown, I'd call you at times.
Yeah.
And thank you again for really being there for me. You were there for me at times. I really needed that, and I'm so grateful for you for that. And,
Good.
And you. And,
I'm grateful you even wanted to talk to me. So yeah, it goes both ways.
And well, and you should hopefully feel good that you really, really helped. One of your best friends. And you really did. And without, you were one of those people, there are a couple of people and you're one of them that I don't know, it could have gone a different way without your help. But it was, it was really tough to go through. And, I lost some people in that process, and so be it. I lost credibility to some people who, like my brothers,
right.
Like my brothers, I was breaking down, crying, telling them things that I'd seen and things I saw were coming down the pipe. And I think now they just, when I try to warn them about things, they're just in the back, they just kind of keep their body calm and just nod and say, okay.
Right.
And it's condescending, and I know it. And I just have to be like, okay, this is the collateral damage. I was vulnerable with them. They still love me, but they no longer trust me or think I'm credible in a certain way. And it's too bad because, I was trying to tell them not to get the shots, for example, and they were just like, whatever, you're fucking crazy, And but that being said, it's like whenever I've done these psychedelics, sometimes they might really, cause this pain and suffering in the ways I've just described. But I like, it's like, because I take this leap way ahead. And then when I come down, it's like I can't get back there. And then I have to work my way back up there the hard way to get back up there more organically.
Right, exactly.
And that thing just showed me a new North Star that I hadn't seen before. And
that it keeps going.
Yeah. And I see how the people like Jay Dyer, they're not going to go that route. And that's okay. You know what? Like I've said before, a baseball team, you don't want 9 starting pitchers or 9 shortstops on the field. You want a field of each, a first base, second base, third, you want. And so Jay Dyer will do his thing, I'll do mine, and hopefully one day me and Jay Dyer will meet and talk, and it'll be a nice harmonizing event.
Yes.
Bro,
I gotta go. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I gotta go.
Okay.
It was awesome talking with you. I'll see you next time.
Definitely, Dogon.
Okay, I'll talk to you later.
All right, later, buddy.
Okay, bye.
Bye.